Yeah, man, how you doing? You good? I know you like that. I know you like that. How long you been back, man? I see the girls in the club, they getting wild for me.
Welcome into the Saturday show, everybody. Hope you're doing well on this Saturday morning. Jake Hatch, Christian Esparza along for the ride on this Saturday. Got a lot to cover ahead on today's show. We're going to have some fun along the way. But the Royal, I just wanted to say the Royal Open, the British Open, or the Open Championship, as they prefer you to call it, well underway. It's pretty soggy over there in Scotland. Shane Lowry's still on top of that. We'll dig into that a little bit later on today's show. You also hear a one-on-one conversation. I had a chance to catch up with BYU head coach Kalani Sitake. You'll hear that. We got a lot to cover. It's always busy. It feels like on a Saturday, even though some people may think it isn't that way. But Christian, what's up, my man? How are you?
Doing great, man. What about you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Like, I had a chance yesterday, filled in on Hans and Scotty. That was pretty fun. Had a good time hanging out with Lloyd. Had Ben stick around for a little bit. We also had Alex Curie in for an hour. So it was a fun day, long day, but it's always fun to be on the radio. I don't think people understand, like, when you do what we do, it's really fun just to be on this side of the mic.
Yeah, that's what we're in it for, right?
Yes, but it's really fun to sit down, kind of react to everything going on in the sports world. But it's been a really, really busy week. Even though this past week versus the previous week were night and day different work-wise, just always busy, it feels like. You got a highlight of the week for us, by the way, to get us really started here?
Well, I was named second team All-American.
Oh, so have you already made it through one season on EA Sports?
Yeah, let's say I had a lot of free time yesterday.
My goodness. So, okay, were you talking Road to Glory or Dynasty?
Yeah, Road to Glory, yeah.
You're already second team All-American. What position?
Running back. I committed to Army.
You were in Army? Okay.
Yeah.
You're a cadet.
As,
all right.
Playing time, all that stuff.
Sure.
I started out, it was weird. I started out as kind of like a Deebo Samuel gadget type wingback, kind of like running lots of
in their
sweeps.
Kind of flex bone offense.
Really weird offense. But then towards the end of the season, I was kind of frustrated. I was the top of the depth chart, but I didn't like the way they were using me. So I hit the transfer portal. Now I'm going to Iowa.
You're going to go play for the Hawkeyes.
Go play for the Hawkeyes, baby.
So you got second team All-American at Army, hit the transfer portal, in theory cashed in a bag of money along the way, and are now on your way to play for the Hawkeyes.
We'll see how it goes. It's a big jump into the Big Ten. So
it is.
I don't know if I'm ready, but we'll see.
So my highlight of the week is the fact that EA Sports College Football 25 is back. I'm having a ball. I'm still super rusty. I'm not going to lie. I've played a bunch of just exhibitions. Like last night, I did a randomized game. Ended up with Appalachian State versus Tulane. That was because you can push a triangle on Xbox and it just randomizes the teams. I set the weather to random, and the home team I was playing as the home team against Tulane had snow in New Orleans. Now, anywhere other than Video Gameville, I don't think that's ever going to be reality, but it was still all fun all the same. And I ended up winning 21-20, but still,
there you go.
I look at this game, I'm like, you know what? It's so good to have it back. But then I play and I'm like, man, I am not as good as I once was.
Well, and it's interesting. Like for me, I've put a lot of hours into Madden over the years.
Absolutely.
And so it's really interesting to me how different it plays than Madden. The field feels so much bigger in EA College Football, if that makes sense. The players feel a lot smaller, and the field feels a lot bigger. So it's a big change, but I like it so far.
Okay, well, and I don't want to get too into the weeds on this. There were so many people that were worried this was going to just be a reskin of Madden.
Yeah, and it's hard not to be worried about that because Madden has significantly fallen off over the last few years.
But it is different than Madden. It has a lot of the same gameplay features of what they had 11 years ago when the last version came out. So I appreciate the fact that EA Sports put some TLC into this and made sure that everything is as good as it could be. There are obviously some things that people are quibbling with. I saw some fans have been upset with certain entrances into stadiums. Okay, you know what? They did the best that they could. The fact that you've got these individualized entrances is cool in and of itself.
Yeah, it's really fun, and they've got a lot of tradition in the game. I mean, there's so much tradition in the world of college football, and that's why we love it so much. And EA did a really, really good job of implementing as much as they can to make this feel kind of like a love letter to college football fans.
Yes, yeah. So, I think that's our combined highlight of the week, that game is back. Are you playing on the PlayStation, by the way?
Yeah, PS5.
Okay,
I'll have to add you. I added Mitch Harper. Rumor is we might get a league going.
Yeah, we're going to have an online
KSL
dynasty with the KSL
team.
Sports team. Yeah. I've got to determine which team I'm going to go with in that, though.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I started a dynasty with Hawaii. I still actually haven't even begun it. I've in the off season of 2024, I haven't even fired it up, but it's just fun to have that game back because you're right. It does feel like, you know what? We understand that you as college football fans, you have passion for these teams. Let's put that passion into a video game, and I think it's actually really cool they did that.
Yeah, and it's tangible.
Yeah. All right. That's the college football universe rejoices because here's the funny thing about this, Christian, is we are now, I think, let's see, Utah is officially kicking off their training camp July 29th, just over a week from now, so 10 days from now. And BYU, I think, is a couple days after that. The nice part is this video game is going to kind of tide us over for this 2-week lull that we kind of have in the sports calendar and then off and rolling into football season.
It's right around the corner, and this summer has felt like it's gone by so fast. But, I mean, yeah, it literally feels like spring ball was just a couple weeks ago. But here we are. The season is right.
It's been a busy summer.
It has been a really busy
we added
summer.
a hockey team here locally. We had a bunch of stuff with NBA, the NBA draft, the NHL draft, NBA free agency. It's been one of those summers. They're like, where did it all go?
It literally, it's been nonstop, and it's been so much fun. But yeah, regardless, college football is almost here. We're just about a month away, really, from the first game, right? Maybe a little over a month, I guess.
August 20. Oh, no, so we have week 0. August 24th will be week 0. So, yeah, we are, about a month.
So much fun.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, so we shall see what happens here, but looking forward to it. All right, so let's, so I just, that video game, man, it fun to have it back because it's been a long time since we've had a new version of it. But let's get it really into the weeds here and let's kick things off. Let's talk a little bit about the Utah Jazz. Now, the Summer League is quickly coming to an end here, Christian. They will play their final the final Summer League game of their slate in Las Vegas on Sunday evening, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Looking forward to seeing how they kind of perform in that final game because those final games of the Summer League, unless it's the teams playing for the illustrious Summer League title, a lot of these teams can mail it in. And I do wonder how the Utah Jazz are going to handle this. I feel like we've had really good performances by and large from a number of these teams. And more importantly for the Jazz is that the 6 guys, either rookies or second-year players, the draft picks over the past 2 off seasons, I think all of them have had a very solid showing at least one of these games. I talked with Ben about this yesterday. Bryce Sensabaugh is really the only one that didn't have a ton of action, but, when you tear a ligament or tendon or whatever he did in his shooting hand and that middle finger, it's going to limit your opportunities. But I feel like everybody else besides him, and even he had a pretty good showing, at least in one of the Summer League games here in Salt Lake City. They've all had their moments, and that should excite you as a Utah Jazz fan.
Yeah, I did hear you talking about that with Ben yesterday, and that's a really, really good point, I think. And that's what you want to see at this point of the summer and of these young players' careers. And obviously that doesn't mean that it's going to translate into regular season success for these players.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's a good sign, right? Like, it's a much better sign than if they were going out there and not performing.
Yeah, well, sure. And that would obviously be all kinds of alarm bells if one of these guys had been essentially a no-show. The other thing about it is you look at every one of these guys. I'm talking about the 6, I call them first or second year players, but even a guy like Walker Kessler, like there was some question why Walker Kessler was even playing in the Summer League, but him and Keontae George, the nice part is they showed up in Salt Lake. They proved they were too good, really, to like, okay, yeah, you know what? You guys are set. You guys can go to Las Vegas and hang out if you want, but you're not going to be playing the rest of the Summer League. It's good to see them all having showings that indicate to you, okay, these guys have an NBA skill set that should allow the Will Hardy and his staff to work with.
Yeah, and then you talk about, this final game, what are we going to see? It makes me wonder if they're going to sit maybe Cody Williams.
I could see something like
especially
that.
Especially where last year we saw Keontae George get hurt, and that kind of put a setback in his development in the early part of the regular season. So I'd imagine that any of their players, any of these young guys that they want to get significant minutes during this 2024 season, I'd imagine that they're going to sit out tomorrow.
Yeah, because there's always those teams, like I said, that end up playing, and they call it a playoff. I think there's like 4 teams that they pick to have a semifinal, and then there's a final on Monday to win the Summer League title. Going into it, and Ben was one of the ones I was out in front saying this, is that the roster the Jazz put together for Summer League had the caliber of being one of those Summer League championship squads. But that's not what Summer League's all about. It's fun to win something like that if you can win it. Sure, your team will celebrate that, and they give out rings now, which is kind of funny to me. I'm a Summer League champion. Look at this bad boy. But the bigger point to be made is the Summer League is a chance to get a real look at these young players playing against competition, because these are all guys jumping into the NBA. In the case of Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, and Kyle Filipowski, they were playing college hoops last year. You want to see them playing against NBA caliber guys, and I think by and large, at least early on, they've all shown that they can hang.
Yeah, and it's impressive, especially considering that a month ago they weren't even on the Jazz yet, right?
Yeah.
Like talking about these 3 rookies this year. A month ago, they did not know who they were going to be playing for. So then they get drafted. Their life absolutely changes in the last 30 days. And then, they come into Salt Lake, learn as much as they can about the Jazz and their playbook and stuff like that. And then they're out here playing not quite NBA level basketball, but just about right there, right? So, and it's really impressive to see them, again, as you mentioned, each one of them has kind of had their time to shine as far as Cody Williams, Collier, and then Filipowski. Each one of them has had a really good game so far.
Yeah. The nice part is I think you can see, especially in Cody Williams' case, the hype is legit about this young man.
Yeah, it's easy to see why everybody was hopeful that he would fall to the Jazz.
Well, and the thing about it was I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, I see what he's got, like in terms of his skill set, and I kept telling myself, don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up, because you look at what he's capable of doing on a basketball court, and he's got the bloodlines. You look at his brother Jalen with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's very much the realm that he could be in. And when he fell to the Jazz, I'm like, all right, let's see what this kid's got. And to his credit, he's gone out there. Yeah, he's not been perfect, but you don't expect that from him. But
he was drafted a month ago, right?
But he flashes all kinds of potential.
Yep, and the potential is what's so exciting, Jake. Like, the way that he can finish around the rim, even where everybody knows that his weight is not there yet.
No,
he's tiny.
He's a teenager still.
He's 19 years old, and his ability to get to the hoop and just his touch around the basket, or we've even seen him with the willingness to drive and dunk. Like, that's so exciting to see. And then his shooting has looked pretty good too. I mean, even in their most recent game, he was 2 of 4 from 3, which is just about what you can ask for his role.
Well, and the other thing about him is that you can tell that his best basketball is still in front of him as his body develops. Because let me make a comparison to Kevin Durant, but not saying that he's going to be Kevin Durant. Let me be very clear about that at the outset of making this argument. His body type, though, is like a Kevin Durant body type. Remember when Kevin Durant, are you old enough to remember when KD came out of Texas?
Yeah. Vaguely, but yes.
Okay, KD was the National Player of the Year at Texas, but he was a freaking string bean out there.
And he still is, but he's developed his body enough to where it needs to be.
And the thing is, Durant's probably a good 30 pounds heavier than when he came out of Texas. He was a 19-year-old string bean who you said, okay, he's got every skill. He can get to the rim. He's got the touch. He can shoot it from outside. As his body developed and his game developed, he became the perennial all-star NBA champion level player that we all saw. I don't know that that's Cody Williams' career arc in terms of the accomplishments on the court, but I look at the body type and the development of his body and skill set, and I say that's kind of got to be the approach that Cody Williams takes. Don't go out there this offseason, hit the weight room, and try and gain 30 pounds right now. Let it come in time. We talk about it all the time that they're drafting on potential with these young players, and you can't tell Cody Williams, hey, by the way, here's some creatine, here's some protein shakes, you need to put on 20 pounds right now. Let it come naturally, and in time, his body will fill out, and along the way, those skills will continue to develop as well, and he'll be able to show, okay, I'm still able to do everything I was able to do coming out of college, just at a higher level.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because you do need to take it slowly, especially when you're a professional level athlete. These bodies are so fine-tuned and accustomed to playing at the weight they're at. where if you are to add a significant amount of muscle too quickly, there's a high risk of injury because of the load that it puts on all your ligaments and stuff like that. If all of a sudden you add 20 pounds of muscle, but there are other more dramatic transformations. Look at Giannis. I mean, I'm not going to say Cody Williams is going to look like Giannis in 10 years, but he was skinny coming into the draft. And again, it took him a few years to develop into the body that he has now, but he's a specimen.
He is. And Giannis, that's actually a better comp maybe for Cody Williams as a Giannis, because I see Cody being able to put on a little more weight than maybe a KD, because KD he's got a pretty slender frame. There's a reason why he was called the
Slim Reaper.
Slim Reaper.
Yep.
Like that's just his nickname. But I
doubt Cody Williams will look like Giannis.
No,
that dramatic of a change. But we have seen players who come in very, very small, and they're able to work with these strength and conditioning programs and add a significant amount of muscle.
Yeah. Okay. And then so to pivot here, you want to talk about a guy who's already got the NBA body, like in terms of his frame? It's Isaiah Collier. Like Isaiah Collier is already an NBA guard body type wise. Like you look at him, 6'3", 210, 215 pounds. He's got kind of the body type and he's filled out his frame that you look at and say, okay, Cody Williams, you got to kind of get to that level. Whereas in the Isaiah Collier realm, what's his shooting mechanics? Is he going to be able to really become an effective shooter? Because if he can shoot, he's got the court vision, the ability to get out on the break that indicate that he could be a lead guard in the NBA. But as we all know, Christian, this is a league that prioritizes shooting more than anything else right now.
Yeah, and if you can't shoot, you're going to be at the bottom looking up as far as trying to make the roster. But
you're playing 4-on-5 if you can't shoot.
Right. And the way the defenses guard your team, if you have a non-shooter on the floor, it significantly impacts what you can do on the offensive end. So that's what they need from Collier, and it's so interesting to see the different types of kind of projects that the Jazz drafted, right? Mm-hmm. Like you have Cody Williams, who's really, really raw, but you can see it. Then you've got Isaiah Collier, who again, like you just mentioned, he looks like he fits the bill, but he needs to tweak a couple things mechanically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you've got Kyle Filipowski, where it's like, okay, he looks like he's pretty ready too, but it's like, does he have the mentality kind of to take the floor as a rookie and do what he needs to do?
And I think I agree with him on this. Kyle Filipowski looks like, I believe, the most ready-made to play. Like if opening night was a week from now, and you said, okay, one of these three rookies has got to play on opening night, I'd actually throw Kyle Filipowski out there because I think he's the more accomplished player. He's the more polished, just overall.
He's the oldest.
Sure, and he's 20, which is kind of funny. He's the oldest of the bunch. He's 20 years old. But you look at it and say, okay, he's got the skill set to be the linchpin in the offense that can facilitate. And that's a critical part of what Will Hardy likes to have in his offense. Something that Danny Ainge likes in terms of his being a front office executive. He likes a big man who can help facilitate the offense. And you're right. There's a mindset, I think, for Kyle Filipowski that's going to have to come along that I am good enough to hang at this level and go out there and show it. I really like his athleticism. I thought it was actually an underrated aspect I have learned about in the summer league for Filipowski. That dunk the other night that he had when he went right to the rim and yammed it. I was like, okay.
And that's what we want to see from players. Like when you talk about what we want to see in summer league, like those are the types of things that you want, is to see a player kind of have this mentality of I can attack the rim.
I am that guy.
Yeah, I can get up there right now with these guys around me, and that's what we saw Filipowski do. And I think the role that he's going to have in the NBA is similar to kind of like a Domantas Sabonis with the Kings.
Okay. Yeah,
kind of just a stretch big who can also help facilitate the offense and do the dribble passes and stuff like
everybody that. Everybody wants a Domantas Sabonis, and obviously everybody would love a Nikola Jokic. Like one of the top 5 players in the world. You can play your entire offense through him. He's a point forward / center for lack of a better term. You want that. And is Kyle Filipowski going to end up being that? That's TBD on that front. But I think the nice part is in the case of a Filipowski, is at minimum, he's going to be able to offer the stretch big man role that is so highly coveted. And as he develops in his game, if he can become more of a facilitator where you can run an offense through him, great. That adds to his value.
Right, and that's very important, especially when you look at who the Jazz have on the roster right now. I mean, especially with guys like Colin Sexton,
Yes.
and then I'm assuming Collier is going to be like this. Guards that want to slash and get to the basket.
Keontae George,
Keontae George, even Taylor Hendricks to an extent. You need to be able to move your big man around and not have them near the basket because that just clogs up the lanes and stuff like that. So you need the spacing.
Yes. Okay, Hendricks for a second here before we take a break. There were some people, and I didn't quite get it early on we're talking about the Salt Lake City Summer League portion that were saying, all right, he's a bust. And I'm like, how can you, and Ben's right about this. I think we too often try and put labels on guys in Summer League that the Summer League is not where you create the label for a guy. Taylor Hendricks still flashes all the skills as to why he was a lottery pick a year ago, so going back 2 drafts ago. I just think he needs to continue to hone his craft, and I don't think the Jazz took him expecting this is the final product of what Taylor Hendricks is going to be.
No, and I think it's pretty clear that when the Jazz did draft Taylor Hendricks, nobody put 2024 as the season for him to be where he needs to be. Everybody kind of knew at the time this is going to probably be a 2-year project player, right? But here we are in the second season, and everybody wants to give up on him. I think people, especially with everything that's gone on with the big game hunting and fans just being impatient, they want to see this stuff paying out right now. And it's really hard to sit here and be patient when you draft these players with lottery picks and they don't look like they're ready to play yet. But you kind of just got to trust the process and trust Danny
Trust
Ainge.
the process?
Right.
Hold on. Are we the Philadelphia 76ers?
Pretty close, huh?
Your point is well taken, though.
Right, but you just got to be patient and trust the front office and the scouting department and what Danny Ainge and these guys see in these young players. And if Taylor Hendricks looks this way next summer, then you're like, okay, what are we doing here?
Where's the development?
Yeah, where's the development? But he's going to have 82 games between now and next draft, really, to show that he is developing into the NBA caliber player that the Jazz saw when they drafted him at what number 9, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think you're right.
So everybody knew that this was going to be at least a couple years. Now that we're almost 2 years in or ready to start the second year, you have to remind yourself, this is what we were telling ourselves when they drafted Taylor Hendricks. So we have to be patient.
Yeah, I think that all of what we've seen in the Summer League is that each one of these guys, and Keontae George only played the 2 games in the Salt Lake City portion, but he'd already proven, I felt like, after an all-rookie level campaign that, okay, yeah, he's got the goods to hang in this league. The biggest question for him is where his ultimate position is. Is he a lead guard? Is he an off guard? That's TBD. Bryce Sensabaugh, when you tear a tendon in your hand, okay, it's going to limit your opportunity. But I still feel like each one of these 6 players, and I just use those 6 because I think they're the most intriguing of the.
That's what it's about right now.
Yeah, and
that's what it's about.
They've all flashed something. You're like, okay, this is worth letting it ride for a little bit and see where it pans out.
Well, and the ultimate reality is what's the hit rate in the NBA draft, right? It's probably less than 50%. So if you draft 6 guys in the last 2 years, and one of them right now looks like they don't belong in Bryce Sensabaugh, you can't be mad at that.
No.
If 5 of the 6 guys are still at least giving you some sort of hope, that's not bad. I'll take that.
No, here's the thing. Every NBA team would take that. Real quick before we hit a break, good friend Clint O'Pete. Embiid to Utah confirmed when you use trust the process.
A man can wish, right?
Sure, but there's no way that Embiid's leaving Philadelphia anytime soon. No matter how bad some people perceive he's playing for Team USA, he is still going to be with the Philadelphia 76ers. So, all right. We'll take a time out here. We'll come back on the other side. I meant to get to the Lauri Markkanen conversation as well as part of this. Let's get to that on the other side. Let's talk about Lauri, the situation that the Jazz may find themselves in roster-wise. We're now about 17 days away from when he can sign that extension. What does it all mean for the Jazz as he continues to kind of be a target of trade speculation? We'll dig into that next as the Saturday show rolls on right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome back to the Saturday show here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Hatch, Christian Esparza along for the ride this Saturday morning. Hope you all are doing well and staying dry, unlike over at Royal Troon. Holy smokes, it It is soggy, as they say over there in Scotland today.
Yeah, that watching some of the holes yesterday, like it looks miserable.
I've got it on the TV. We got it on TV here in the studio, and let's just put it this way. A lot of umbrellas and rain gear around the course this morning, and as you would expect. But the funny thing about this is I've talked with people who live across the pond, as they like to say. And they'll tell you, it's like, yeah, this is the day that ends in white. What do you want from us?
Yeah, and yesterday during our show, Jake Scott was talking about that he'd rather play in rain than wind.
Well, I'm with Jake on that. I actually heard that.
I'm new enough to golf where I wouldn't play if it was bad weather.
You're a fair weather golfer. Got it. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
and I can understand that, but here's the thing. Given the choice of elements for that sport, give me rain versus wind, because wind it messes with everything. That's the problem. Again, you can have a good shot, and if it's windy, it can push it completely offline, and you can end up in the junk, and avoid the wind.
By the way, going back to some body transformations we've seen from NBA players, I know you were wanting to talk about Lauri Markkanen this segment. Lauri Markkanen is another player who's put on quite a bit of muscle, especially over the last few years. I mean, he wasn't nearly as skinny as Cody Williams coming out when the Bulls drafted him, but man, I'm looking at some workout pictures of Lauri Markkanen right now, and he's put on quite a bit of muscle to his frame.
Well, and Lauri, that's actually an interesting point. You're right. He was not skinny, I guess I would say, coming out of Arizona when he came out. But no, he's not what he is now. He's now filled his frame out, and it happens with all of these guys in the NBA. When you get with NBA level trainers, nutritionists, like you talk about being finely tuned machines. So these athletes
It happens to any 19-year-old. You know, if you hit the weight room at that age, you're going to put on a lot of muscle.
Trust me, I look
in
good
your
at
early
night.
20s.
No, you're right. And given the fact that these guys have the resources at their disposal, because the Jazz have a full-time chef on staff there at the facility. They'll make you 3 square gourmet meals a day if you're there long enough during the day. They'll take care of you, and because they understand the value of having guys and their bodies be in top peak physical condition. That's what Lauri Markkanen is right now. Now, there's some people that say, well, he hasn't played a full season. You know what?
Let's just say if the Jazz were in the playoff race, Lauri Markkanen would have played significantly more games over the last 2 seasons. And I think it's funny when people bring that up, like Lauri missing games as a huge red flag. Like, you know that they've been pulling him to lose games. Like, that's anybody that chooses not to see that as being willfully ignorant.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it is you look at where things kind of stand with this Jazz roster. There's a lot of youth there. There's absolutely a lot of youth there. And Lauri Markkanen, I know in a lot of people's eyes, he doesn't maybe fit the timeline for the Jazz, but he's still young enough that if he wants to be a part of it, you can work this around him, because he is far and away the best player on the Jazz roster right now.
Easily. And if the Jazz were a better roster as far as a win-loss record, people would talk about Lauri Moore as being a top 20, top 25 player in the NBA.
Well, he's right there as it is. And I think given the opportunity to get some more talent around him, and Ben and I, as part of our conversation, you probably heard it yesterday, we talked about the fact that the roster is maybe not as far off as some people might imagine it is. Now, this coming season, it could be one of those seasons where you do, quote unquote, mail it in. It's the SAG for flag, or the whatever, capture the flag is what DJ and PK are going with, to try and get a guy like Cooper Flag. Even if it's not Cooper Flag, it's an Ace Bailey. There's a lot of really, really good talent that's coming, in theory, into this upcoming NBA draft. Now, if you can get one of those top tier talents and they prove to be the guy, then you pair him with Lauri Markkanen and you surround him with the other talent you've acquired across the board with the 6 guys we just talked about in the previous segment. Yeah, that roster all of a sudden is like, okay, yeah, that's a play-in caliber roster. And as they go along developing, that turns into a playoff caliber roster.
Let's just say worst case scenario, Keontae George and Cody Williams are the only 2 of these young players that end up working out. Then you throw in Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, and an Ace Bailey.
Yeah.
Then that's a pretty good roster right there, right?
Yeah, and I look at this and I understand the frustration that Jazz fans have had the last 2, because they've pulled the plug 2 seasons in a row, and that's no fun.
It is frustrating.
It's no fun
not
as a
fun
fan
to watch,
because all of a sudden you're like, oh great, the last 25 games it's a slog here, and why am I really watching this? I get all that, But I think what Danny Ainge, Justin Zanuck, Ryan Smith is the owner of the franchise. I think all of them have a vision in mind of building a team that can open a window not that far off. Now, it's going to require, I think, some short-term pain for that long-term gain, to use that expression. But the Lauri Markkanen situation is right now the Jazz are going to listen to offers. They always should. That's just part of the business of being in professional sports.
They have to, yeah.
You sit back and you say, okay, what are you guys offering up? And we've heard the rumors about Golden State. The Golden State wants to give them multiple picks. Moses Moody, it's pick swaps and call it good. The Jazz are like, no. We want Podziemski. Pajemski. That's what I'm never going to get his name right. I swear.
Well, you might have to.
Sure. If he ends up playing for Brandon Pajemski. And then also they're looking at Jonathan Kuminga. I think if you were to get all those guys, you do that deal in a heartbeat. I think Danny Ainge is sitting there like, hey, you know what we want. And if you're willing to pony it up, we'll give it up. But the nice part about the Jazz right now is they can kind of sit back. They're not forced to make a move here.
No, the Jazz don't have to trade Lauri Markkanen, and that's why they have the luxury of trying to squeeze every asset that they can. Lauri likes it here. The Jazz don't have to trade him, so
he hasn't demanded out.
Right, they're not inclined at all to take a lesser offer. In fact, they don't even have to take an offer that Lauri's worth. You know, they're saying no. We want to screw you over.
Well, here's the thing: the New York Knicks and that deal for Mikal Bridges, the Jazz are like, you see that over there?
Yeah, right.
We want more than that.
More than that, because Lauri's a better player, and you know, to Lauri's credit, he's perfect for what Golden State needs right now. They need somebody to come in and be a catch and shoot guy, a spot up shooter who's not going to need the ball in his hands, and that's what Lauri Markkanen is.
Yeah,
he's a perfect complement to what Steph Curry is on the floor right now.
Steph is a high usage player, and he's very efficient with those high usages. Lauri Markkanen is very efficient with low usage. You're right. On paper, it looks like an ideal pairing for Golden State. And I can understand from Golden State's perspective, well, we still need to have role players around us. Okay, let's also acknowledge the fact that Golden State is one of those destinations that guys will go play for the NBA veteran minimum. You can get some role players that will you can work with, even if you do have to give up a Jonathan Kuminga or a Brandon Pajemski, because that's what the Jazz want. They want young talent. They don't want just draft picks. They've got the Jazz. If they want to just draft picks, they got enough of those. Is it 12 over the next 5 drafts of first rounders alone?
Something, yeah.
They don't need just draft picks. They need some talent as well. And we know about Golden State. Who else is in the mix? That's the big question. There's people talking about Philadelphia. There was a Scoop Robinson was out there saying 2 first-round picks would do it to get Lauri out of Utah. And I'm like, nope. Nope. That I know in theory that these big markets and some of their media think that, well, these small, they'll kowtow to it. No, if you met Danny Ainge will fleece you before you fleece him. That's his whole mentality.
Yeah, and I guess the big question is, how bad does Golden State really want this?
And that's the nice part about this is more teams start to call and ask the Jazz. You can be Justin Zanuck or Danny Ainge. You call the Golden State front office and tell Mike Dunleavy Jr., hey, by the way, whoever is in the mix now, and all of a sudden they're like, crap.
Right. Yeah, so if Golden State really thinks that bringing Lauri Markkanen in would bring them a championship this season or maybe next season, are they willing to sacrifice basically their next 10 years after that, right?
Oh, and that's the debate you're always going to have with professional sports.
Yeah, it's something that fans, would you take a championship for your team right now if it meant not making the playoffs for the next 10 years? And it's a hard question because as a Broncos fan, watching them win the Super Bowl in 2015 or 16, whatever, that was one of my favorite sports experiences ever. But they have not made the playoffs since, and it's been really, really hard to go through. And on one hand, yes, that's really hard to watch. But on the other hand, not many people get to watch their team win a championship. So I honestly would take the trade-off. And it's 10 years of pain following, but man, saying I watched my team win a championship, it's so much fun. It's so exciting. So the Warriors, you say, okay, if we make this move and we give up Pajemski, we give up Kuminga, we give up all of our draft picks over the next 5-6 years, that's basically what you're going to do.
Well, and the other thing about it is you look at the situation that Golden State is in, is they're trying, as you mentioned, to get everything out of the Steph Curry era. They've had an incredible run. They were one of the homegrown teams that you can't fault what Golden State did. They had Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and Draymond Green all come to them via the draft. They built that. Then they had the good fortune when the cap decided to go crazy with that collective bargaining agreement where there was a massive jump. They were able to slot in Kevin Durant. You can fault them if you want for that, but here's the thing. I think they would have continued to win even without KD on that roster.
Oh, 100%. And they almost won again if it wasn't for injuries.
Yeah, so that is, it's a feel-good story what the Golden State did, and they're trying to kind of just, it's like the end of a toothpaste tube. They're trying to get just a little bit more out of this and out of the Steph's final few seasons, and Lauri helps facilitate that. I don't see Brandon Pajemski. Did I get that right again? I think so. I'm going to be practicing this for days, it feels like. Jonathan Kuminga, they're all showing flashes of being very good players, but I don't necessarily see the game in and game out consistency that Golden State craves and needs if they really want to win a game or win a championship that I think that Lauri Markkanen would offer. So that's kind of the give and take here. Because, yes, Golden State's probably like looking, okay, 5 years from now, we're probably going to be rebuilding. But in those 5 years, can we pick up one, maybe two championships in that run?
The Warriors right now, their roster is in a position that some people think the Jazz fans are in. Because some people are saying that Lauri is too old for the Jazz's timeline, and that's why they need to trade him.
He's only 27.
Right. But my point is that the Warriors are in that situation because they have their best player is Steph Curry. Their next best players are like first, second, or third year guys. And that does not fit together. And so they need to do something.
Yeah, consistency is lacking amongst that crew. Draymond Green, great. He's a Bono.
I'm forgetting about him for a reason. Yeah.
But so the thing is, the Jazz have the capability of just sitting back and saying, okay, Golden State, you may have interest, and this is what you're offering. Great. We'll get back to you on that. Meanwhile, we're going to listen to all other offers. And essentially, you're creating, at some point, hopefully, enough desperation on Golden State's part. They're like, all right, take it. Here's you guys wanted this, you guys get it.
Yeah.
Now, there's an interesting point here by Clinto Pete here, and I admit I have not seen this on social media. But he says this narrative that I hate is already floating around on Twitter, and Clinto Pete, like me, is terminally online. It feels like, but he's got a good point here. Quote: "If Lauri doesn't demand out of Utah, it means it doesn't have the fire to want to win."
That's what some Jazz fans are saying.
That's what he says on the internet is one of the emerging storylines about. I would disagree with that.
Lauri Markkanen is a really interesting person. I mean, I've worked a lot of Jazz games over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We carry their broadcast, and so I get to hear a lot of their post-game things. And Lauri Markkanen does not strike you as a professional athlete, at least the ones that we're used to here in the United States. Like a lot of the people that make it professionally, part of the thing that gets them there is their alpha dog mentality.
Yes.
I'm the one. It's all about me. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I'm not trying to say that that's wrong or anything. I'm just saying that's part of the mindset that helps people make it to the NBA, and that carries over into the veteran part of their careers. Lauri Markkanen is a lot different. He's shy. He's a really, really shy person. He's very introverted. He doesn't have that alpha dog mentality, yet he's still a very, very good basketball player. So I wouldn't say that it means Lauri doesn't want to win if he's okay with staying in Utah. He's just not concerned about chasing rings or anything like that. I think his main focus is just being the best basketball player that he can be, whether that's here or in San Francisco or wherever.
And you can work with that. That's the thing about that is he's got a desire to be a really good hoops player. And there are guys who like to talk. There are guys who don't like to talk. Lauri is one of those guys who, as you mentioned, he's kind of introverted.
He's so shy. And it's really, really interesting to see, like, in a Jazz locker room full of players, especially lots of young guys that are really rambunctious and outgoing. Like, Lauri Markkanen is such a shy person.
But he's a lead by example guy, not lead by words.
Yep, lead by example. And to Will Hardy's credit, Will Hardy is trying to get Lauri Markkanen more out of his shell, especially with him being kind of the face of the team right now with all these young guys coming in.
Yeah.
So they're trying to work on that. But that's the reality of who Lauri Markkanen is right now. Is he's just a quiet kind of guy, and he's not going to go out there and say, I want to win now, so I need to get out of here.
Yeah. One of those crazy things, but I am very curious what happens because that extension can be signed on August 6th. As David Locke told PK and Jake Scott yesterday on DJ and PK, there's some people that only have one day to trade him if they trade him. Here's the thing. I don't think the Jazz are saying we've got to trade Lauri Markkanen. They're willing to listen to all offers, as every good GM and front office executive in professional sports. You're always open to opportunity, but you're not scrambling. All right, first team that gives us a deal, we're going to. No, there's a reason why he's not been moved yet.
Right. That would be stupid to do, is just give him away just to give him away, right?
Yeah, no,
We've said multiple times the Jazz don't have to do anything.
You don't give away talent like that. And you want to make Jazz fans even more mad? Take pennies on the dollar for a guy the caliber of Lauri Markkanen.
Yep, exactly. So I think, this extension is going to get signed. The regular season starts in, October-ish, right?
Yeah.
So
the dates get
if
all
Lauri
convoluted.
Markkanen is not traded by the start of the regular season, he's not going to get moved during the season.
Doesn't seem like it. It'd be next summer, I think.
It would be next summer.
Mm-hmm.
But by then, the Jazz will have a clear idea of what they're going to do because they have this whole season to go through. They'll have a better idea of what this young talent looks like, a better direction of their next few years after this one. So that's, I think, when they will really make the decision of, okay, are we going to keep Lauri here, or is it time to move him and just focus on this younger core of players?
Well, and on the Lauri side of things, I think he'd also have an idea of, okay, where do things stand with this roster? Because at that point he could be like, all right, guys, I like where this is going. Let's keep it rolling. Or at that point he may say, you know what? I know this sounds. I move me. Like that, that's when that conversation ultimately would transpire, one way or the other. All right, we will come back on the other side. We will wrap up hour one of the program. We'll get to technical fouls. Honestly, it's one of my favorite things each week, Christian. You never quite know what you're going to get with this segment, and we'll get to that next as we roll on the Saturday show here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If you're coming from the street with dirty shoes on your feet, that's a technical foul. If you switch the radio to some modern music show, that's a technical foul. If you touch the thermostat,
You'll get hit with a bat.
'cause that's a technical foul.
You will feel my wrath.
That's a technical foul.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
A technical foul.
My beer walked through constant doors and roamed all over Coliseum floors. I stepped on stage at Live Aid. All the people gave.
Welcome back to the Saturday show here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Hatch, Christian Esparza, along for the ride on this Saturday morning. Hope you all are doing well, no matter what you got going on this Saturday. All right, it is time, as you heard, for technical fouls. Now, Christian, I'm going to let you start this week. Where are we going?
I'm going to go with Jordan Addison.
Okay.
And this is a really frustrating story. So Jordan Addison last weekend, he was arrested for a DUI in California. I don't know all the details because I don't need to know all the details. Not only is that frustrating at face value, right? You're making millions of dollars and you don't have the respect to yourself or to other people to get an Uber or have a friend drive or whatever.
Well, and the thing about this with Jordan Addison is this is not his first run-in with this.
Right, this is not his first auto thing. But the part that's most frustrating to me
with this
is that the week before, so 2 weeks ago, Jordan Addison had a teammate that was killed in a car crash caused by a drunk driver.
Yeah, Kyrie Jackson, rookie draft
4th round
pick.
corner out of Oregon, lost his life in a car accident caused by a drunk driver. Yeah. So for Jordan Addison to be out here doing this literally the week later is incredibly insensitive. It's bad leadership. It's bad. It's a bad look for him. And as you mentioned, this is his second similar situation. As a rookie, he got pulled over for speeding. He was going I don't even remember. He was going really fast.
Do you remember
an absurd.
It was 140 miles an hour in suburban Minneapolis at 2 or 3 a.m. You know what his excuse was, right?
Something about his dog.
His dog had a medical emergency.
Right.
Okay. I understand that your dogs are very important. 140 miles an hour is a bit excessive there, sir.
So now he's 2 years. Well, he's about to start his second season, and he's had 2 arrests for car-related incidents. But I have no respect for people who drink and drive. It's ridiculous. It's something that is easily avoidable, and it's just so frustrating. And then you throw in the wrinkle of losing his teammate a week earlier, and it's so awful, man. I'm really upset about this.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you're just like, okay. You'd think with the money these guys make, they would be a little smarter about it, but they are human. But yeah, the fact that he's had these back-to-back instances, and you mentioned the DUI just literally like a week removed from losing a teammate. Yeah, bad look. All right, I've got mine. I'm going to go to the Copa America. I don't know if you saw this last Sunday, Christian. The final down there in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. Let's just put it this way. It was chaotic at best. All kinds of property damage ended up occurring. Thousands, as I read, of unticketed fans rushed the turnstiles, and multiple people, they essentially locked the gates. Multiple people who actually had tickets weren't able to get in. They paid thousands upon thousands of dollars to watch Colombia and Argentina play in the Copa America final, which Argentina ultimately ended up winning in extra time. Really, really bad look for tournament organizers, especially considering we have the World Cup coming here in less than 2 years' time.
And that is kind of the worrying part about this is, Copa America's a big deal and all, but it's not the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
So if we've got fans doing this at Hard Rock Stadium for the Copa America final, imagine what fans are going to be trying to do all across the country for the FIFA World Cup. So it's a huge problem.
A lot of it goes on CONMEBOL, who was running all this, like in terms of getting here's the deal. Figure it out. Get it fixed. No matter who you got to talk to, what you got to get in place. A lot of these big ticketed events in this day and age of sports have multiple checkpoints, and they extend 100 yards out from the actual facility to prevent this from happening, to allow the human crush of people. And it's a scary, scary situation to see some of those scenes and see parents scared for their children's lives in situations like this. It's not a good scene. Could have been handled a lot better, and it was just a really bad look, but they've got it. You got to figure it out. And by the way, just an extended technical foul goes to Colombian Football Federation President Ramon Jesserun. He was arrested and jailed on 3 counts of battery against a specified official or employee, along with his 43-year-old son, Ramon Jamil Jesserun. They got into a fight after 4 a.m. after the 2 allegedly attacked security guards at Hard Rock Stadium. This dude is like part of like the advisory committee for CONMEBOL, which puts on Copa America. Dude, what are you doing?
Taking matters in his own hands.
But fighting security guards at 4 a.m., a little after 4 a.m., it was booked into jail. That's a bad look, dude. Come on now. They attacked security guards who were preventing people from entering the pedestrian tunnel where media members had gathered about 12:20 a.m. Monday morning after the conclusion of the Copa America final. Get into fisticuffs.
This whole thing was a mess, and it's very worrying. Considering, like you said, the World Cup is coming here in 2 years, but I can guarantee that the security that they're going to have for that after this incident, I'm hoping, that it's going to be out the wazoo, right?
Well, it's got to be, because here's the deal. You can't afford to have that happen with the World Cup when it's got even bigger focus, because it's quite literally the world. Like, Copa America it's typically a South American competition, but they've brought it to the United States a couple of times, and it's a big deal. And you think it's a big deal with that? Imagine having all the other confederations of soccer, and it's going to be an expanded World Cup field. There's 48 teams in this upcoming World Cup. Yeah, you got to get it fixed.
Yeah. It is exciting, though. I can't wait. That's going to be, man, it just feels like we've got so much going on locally. And then you throw in things like the World Cup coming here. Like, that's so cool. And unfortunately, we're not going to get a game here in Utah, but we might be a base camp for a team, right? So that's really cool.
They're actually thinking 2.
Two.
The RSL Academy, the RSL training facility out in Harriman, they have said that it's going to have at least 1, I think is fairly certain, but they could house up to 2 teams. So 2 of these confederations from wherever in the world could be calling Salt Lake City home for their training, because we all know the World Cup is going to be all over the country. It's unfortunate, by the way, that we're going to have to play on turf that is laid over turf, because you saw in that Copa America, there are multiple fields where there's an NFL stadium where they want to pack as many people in as they can, but they haven't put actual grass. You got to figure that out in and of itself, but it'll be cool to have at least some of these national teams maybe calling Salt Lake City home as their home base for this tournament.
Yeah. Sports are an ever-growing business, right?
Yep.
They're always getting bigger and better, and it feels like here in Utah, we're right at the center of it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, we will take a time out here. We'll come back on the other side. We will dig in to some BYU football. I had a chance at the end of last month, so BYU had a media golf tournament. I had a chance to catch up one-on-one with BYU football head coach Kalani Sitake. We'll let you hear that conversation coming up next right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.